So why indoor air quality? Why does it matter so much to people living with asthma? Well, asthma is a disease that is often misunderstood, sometimes downplayed. People tend to mask symptoms sometimes, and when they're feeling better, they think that maybe asthma is no longer an issue for them. But it really is more than just a wheeze. It's more than just shortness of breath from time to time. It is a disease, a chronic disease that can be very serious if it's not managed correctly. Asthma, as those who are joining us, I'm sure know, who are living with asthma, know that it is a chronic inflammatory disease of the airways. When someone with asthma is exposed to triggers, which we'll talk about in this session, the lining of the airways swell. They will fill with mucus and they will tighten. And that's what makes it really hard to breathe and causes other symptoms like chest tightness and so forth. So air quality is a serious issue because it's not just about comfort. It can mean the difference between someone feeling and living well and being active and working and performing as they like, or ending up in a situation where they might end up in an emergency room or hospital. Asthma management is an ongoing process. It's something that people need to continually monitor and pay attention to. As I said, asthma does tend to be a disease that people downplay. We hear sometimes people say phrases like, oh, it's just my asthma, don't worry. That causes me personally and my colleagues to cringe every time we hear that because it's not just asthma. It is a serious disease. So some of the things that people can do to better manage their disease involving the identification of what triggers your asthma, and often healthcare professionals can help with that, and also strategies to avoid triggers, as well as taking your controller medication. Because asthma is a disease that people sometimes downplay, when they feel better, they may stop taking the controller medication. And it's really important to continue taking that medication as it's been prescribed. Also, avoiding triggers that are under your control. And that's some of the things we're going to talk about today, especially because we know in the environment there are other triggers that are more difficult, if not impossible, to control, like pollen, air pollution, viruses, and so forth. And then finally, ensuring that air quality is good and can help eliminate triggers and fight the effects of unavoidable outdoor triggers. There are two types of asthma triggers. They fall into two main categories: inflammatory triggers, which are usually allergic, and non-allergic triggers, which simply irritate the airways. So when it comes to inflammatory triggers, they include things like dust mites, pet dander, mold, cockroaches, pollens. These can cause inflammation in the airways, and an allergist can help confirm those triggers through proper testing. Symptom triggers, on the other hand, don't cause swelling of the airways, but they can make the airways twitchy. And those involve things like smoke and chemical fumes, perfumes, even strong emotions can have a triggering effect on someone who has been diagnosed with asthma. So it's really important to know what your triggers are. First of all, you can't avoid something or mitigate something if you don't really understand what those are. One shocking fact, I think for me anyways, is the fact that across the country, on average, people spend about 90% of their time indoors, in their homes, in their workplaces, in schools, and so forth. So our homes today are built much more tightly sealed. They're much more energy efficient, which is great, but that also can provide a challenge because air pollutants could be trapped inside the home because they are so well sealed, well insulated, and so forth. So for people living with asthma, having a home that's well insulated and energy efficient can be a safe haven, but sometimes can be a hidden source of risks as well. And we'll talk about some of those today. Indoor triggers include common substances that are found in most homes. So one of the most difficult ones to control is dust mites. And what it shows is that it's actually their waste that can trigger symptoms. Not something we necessarily want to think about, but that's the reality of it. That dust mites and their waste can be a major allergen and a major trigger for people living with asthma. Cockroaches, again, not something people want to think about, but they are a trigger. And for some people, they're in a situation where there could be cockroaches present. And so it's really important to make sure that that's taken care of if that's the case. Mold is another, and it thrives in poorly ventilated, damp spaces, basements, bathrooms. And it's the airborne spores in mold that cause asthma flare-ups. And then finally, chemicals and fragrances, laundry detergents, cleaning products, hairspray, perfume, scented candles, even. These are things that we think of, and they're marketed as products that are making our homes fresh and clean. And when you walk in someone's home and you smell a nice fragrance, it just makes you think that someone is taking care of their home properly. But in actuality, a lot of those substances can be harmful and can actually pollute indoor air. Common indoor triggers also include smoke, whether that's from tobacco, wood stoves, or even third-hand smoke that can linger on surfaces. Pets are another big one. And of course, people love their pets, and many people who have allergies to pet dander continue to have a pet, and I completely understand that. But it's important to understand that that is a very serious trigger for some people because of the animal's dander and saliva, sometimes urine, that can be a trigger for people with their asthma. And then finally, viral infections. So rhinovirus, the common cold, RSV, which we're hearing a lot more about the last couple of years, and there are vaccines available now for RSV, and of course, certain flu viruses as well, which will affect someone living with asthma potentially more seriously than someone who does not have a lung health condition like asthma. So outdoor air quality certainly is a concern, and so we've talked a little bit so far about indoor air quality and indoor air triggers, but there are many triggers outdoors, which of course make their way into our homes and also affect us when we are outdoors. Everyone wants to spend time in the outdoors, even though we spend most of our time indoors. So things like pollen, mold, extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme weather situations, which we're seeing more of now, various types of air pollution, wildfire smoke. These are all examples of triggers that can quickly become indoor problems as well as being problems for people when they step outdoors. With climate change leading to more extreme weather events, we're seeing these outdoor triggers affect people living with asthma even more often than perhaps in the past. I just want to take a moment to address wildfires. And I know for a lot of people joining us or watching this webinar afterwards, the recording, wildfires are a real public health concern. They're most common, of course, in the hot summer, dry months, but they really can occur at any time of the year, and some are burning year round. And what really is concerning for most Canadians is that the smoke can travel hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, meaning you don't have to live near a fire to feel its effects. Wildfire smoke does contain many harmful pollutants, including fine particulate matter that can penetrate and settle deeply into the lungs. When you're breathing in wildfire smoke, even when it's not obvious, even when you don't see the haze and the smoky situations that we because of fatal asthma attacks that were triggered by wildfire smoke, not to mention the continued and ongoing problems that wildfire smoke may have in sort of a silent sense as well. So if you're ever unsure about how wildfire smoke might be affecting you, if you need to talk to a healthcare professional, if you don't have a doctor, even if you do, you're welcome to reach out to our asthma and allergy helpline. You'll see the number there. We'll provide it a bit later as well. And we also answer questions via email as well. Just a few more things about wildfires before we move on. It's really important to have an updated asthma action plan, which really involves outlining steps for you to take in case your symptoms are worsening, if you end up having an exacerbation or an attack, or end up in an emergency situation. It's really important to have that documented. As I mentioned earlier, of course, it's really important to continue taking your controller medication, even when you're feeling well. And then finally, using air purifiers and filters, HEPA purifiers can help to clear the air and keep you safe from the effects of wildfire smoke. Staying hydrated is important, drinking plenty of fluids, to keep the mucus flowing and thin so that it can be cleared more easily. As I mentioned, taking your medication as prescribed is really important, even when you're feeling well. And then we also have a more extensive webinar, which was specifically recorded last year, which involved some experts, Canadian experts, Dr. Emily Brigham and Dr. Chris Carlston, both from British Columbia, who explained how wildfire smoke and poor air quality affects your lungs. They go into a lot more detail about the types of pollutants that are involved in wildfire smoke and how you can protect yourself and mitigate the effects of the smoke and your lungs. So we encourage you to seek that out through our website, where you can find us on YouTube as well and watch that to learn more about wildfires. In terms of improving the indoor air quality, controlling the air is an important factor. So cigarette smoke, wood smoke, scented products, these are all things that people can control within their homes and keep them out of the indoor spaces. So, we all like to have fresh smelling laundry and so forth, but there are ways to ensure that you are having a scent-free environment and a smoke-free environment, which can really help to improve indoor air quality. Avoiding allergens is a really important factor that we will talk about more extensively today. Removing carpets and furniture that can trap allergens, if that's within your control and you're able to do it, that can really help. Keeping pets out of the bedroom, off furniture. If you have a pet, if you don't have one, if you're allergic to pet dander, then it's probably a good idea to not have one if you can do that. But if you do have one, try to keep them out of areas where you're sleeping and so forth, if possible. Using allergen-resistant covers for bedding is an important strategy. Looking at things like dehumidifiers to reduce moisture in the bathrooms and kitchen areas to prevent mold, making sure that you're cleaning your bathrooms, showers, tubs, sinks, toilets weekly to stop mold from growing, and using an air purifier to ensure that air quality is the best it can be. Safe products are important. Chemical fumes from products like paints and cleaners and cosmetics, laundry detergent, which is a surprise to a lot of people, that we often think about the effects that things like perfumes or air fresheners can have, because there often is that immediate visceral effect for people with asthma and allergies. But laundry detergent is something that over time can have a detrimental effect. And so fortunately, there are many scent-free products that are available and natural detergents that can be purchased as well. And so if that's something that you're interested in, we would encourage you to check that out as well. Just a couple of key summary points before I turn it over to the presenters with Panasonic. Avoiding indoor and outdoor triggers is beneficial in managing asthma symptoms. Really making sure that you are doing whatever you can to improve indoor air quality, such as through the use of HEPA filters and air purifiers. One of the things I want to make sure that we mention is that even though some indoor environmental factors are not within your control, doing some of these things, implementing some of these strategies can make a huge difference. It's not necessarily an all or nothing. In an ideal situation, you could set up your home with proper air purification, with no carpets, with bedding properly done, and so forth. But the reality is, even some of those can make a big difference for people living with asthma and allergies. Also want to stress again the importance of the Asthma Action Plan. We have that on our website as well, asthma.ca. And we always encourage people to reach out with any questions that you may have about managing your asthma, whether it's around this topic or any other topic, for yourself, for children, or anyone else that you have concerns about. You can always reach out to our asthma and allergy helpline. And there's the phone number and the email that you can use. You can also access it through our website as well. So please go back to asthma.ca, subscribe to our newsletters. We want to make sure that we can continue to provide information and help you to manage and live best with asthma. Finally, I want to mention that Asthma Canada is a registered charity. We do rely on the donations and generous support of donors across the country. So if you're able to, if you're interested in, please support our work. We are a charity that offers tax receipts for donations, of course, and you can scan the code that's on the screen, or you can visit us at asthma.ca/donate or call us if you'd like to support the work of Asthma Canada. Everything we offer is free of charge, always will be, whether or not you support us or not, but we do appreciate the support when possible. Now, at this point in time, I'd like to thank again the representatives from Panasonic who are joining us today, and thank Panasonic Canada for supporting Asthma Canada and supporting the development of these resources and this webinar. Uh, at this point, I'm pleased to introduce the two representatives that were joined today from Panasonic. First is Kevin Moran. Kevin has worked at Panasonic Canada for more than 24 years, currently serving as the Product Development Manager for Indoor Air Quality. And in this role, Kevin drives Panasonic's mission to create innovative solutions that enhance comfort, energy efficiency, and healthy living environments for people across Canada. Jacqueline Maniteros is the Business Development Manager for Indoor Air Quality and HVAC in Ontario at Panasonic Canada. She has worked there for the past 4 years and collaborates closely with builders, engineers, and HVAC designers to deliver solutions that improve comfort, energy efficiency, and healthy living environments. She focuses on supporting the residential building industry with Panasonic's advanced HVAC and IAQ product lineup, while fostering strong partnerships that promote growth and sustainability across Ontario's markets. So, Jacqueline, Kevin, I'll turn things over to you.
Jeff, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity today, and thank you so much for everybody that's watching today. It's great to connect and to share some information with you that hopefully will help improve your quality of life. And for me, working at Panasonic, it's always been about presenting products to people that will enrich their lives. Today, what we're talking about is our Breathe Well line of products. It's our indoor air quality products that will improve the quality of air in your home. Now, before we get into the products, I wanted to talk just a little bit about why indoor air quality matters, why it's important. And I mean, for most of you, I think it's already obvious. If you're suffering with asthma, the quality of your indoor air is so important because, as Jeff indicated, we do spend 90% of our time indoors. And what's really scary is that the indoor air can be up to 5 times dirtier than the outdoor air. And when you consider that we take 20,000 breaths each day, that means we're actually ingesting more air, 15 times more air than the volume of food and water that we ingest each day. So the quality of the air that you're breathing is incredibly important. And I know a lot of people around me that suffer with asthma. My colleague Jacqueline, her family is challenged with asthma, and so she's going to be talking a little bit later today about that. But before we get to Jacqueline's case, I want to talk a little bit about two of the formal case studies that we did with Asthma Canada, because we were under the impression, based on our research and based on our knowledge working with our products, so for more than 20 years, our indoor air quality products, we felt that there was really more that we could do to kind of show people in Canada exactly how powerful these products are and how much they can help you in your day-to-day life. So we launched two case studies with Asthma Canada in the last year. A total of 7 people from these two families were afflicted with asthma, and 4 of which were children under the age of 18. And the study period took place between February and April of 2025. And we actually used a combination of products. We used one of our Climate Pure XZ series heat pumps, which is equipped with a Nano EX air purification system. And we also used our Whisper Air Repair spot air purifiers that we used in the bedrooms. So again, let's take a closer look at the case studies first before we get into talking about the products. So in case study number 1, this was Thelma's family, and they were having what I would call moderate symptoms with the asthma in their home. But they obviously had problems with breathing, particularly at nighttime. And they experienced a lot of nasal congestion. And what they found with using our products in their home was that they experienced less sneezing and less nasal congestion on a regular basis, and found that they had an overall improvement in their quality of life. The two people that you see in the picture noticed a general reduction in unpleasant odors in the home, and they felt that the air was fresher and crisper. But most importantly, they had less allergy symptoms, especially in the morning when waking up, which we found particularly notable. They really appreciated having this product in their home and to try it out, and found that there was definitely a benefit in doing so. Our second family was Sheila's family, and she has quite a large family, and she herself suffers from asthma as well as some of the children. And what they found was that their allergy symptoms were dramatically reduced and they didn't feel as sick, which was really important. They noticed a dramatic improvement in the quality of life. They also noticed a significant reduction in cooking smells and dog odor because they do have pets in their home. Um, but probably one of the most significant advantages for mom was that she noticed that she wasn't being woken up during the night, so she was actually able to sleep, and that was because the kids were sleeping through the night as well as her. And for that, she was thankful that she was actually getting a good night's sleep. And I know lots of people that suffer not being able to sleep at night because of their allergy symptoms. So that was a very notable point for us, that it actually dramatically improved her quality of life, allowed her to sleep, and then she was required to less use of the inhalers, which was enormous. We know how challenging it can be when you're struggling to breathe. The inhalers are a lifesaver, but being able to spend more time without using them because your breathing is much better, that's a significant advantage for anyone. So maybe I can ask Jacqueline if you wouldn't mind jumping in here to talk a little bit about your story with your two young girls.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Jeff, as well, and the Asthma Canada team for having us on here today. So my name is Jacqueline. I work as the business development manager at Panasonic. I've been at Panasonic for 4 years, and I joined the indoor air quality team in fall of 2021. And this is where I learned of indoor air quality. I learned of the NanoX technology that Kevin will talk about. At the time, my oldest daughter was 4, and she suffers through with severe asthma. My youngest daughter at the time was 1 years old, and during that time, COVID was rampant and among us. So in December of 2021, um, Zoe got COVID from school. So we stayed home. So I got COVID second, my husband third, and then my youngest was last. I was really worried about my daughter, my youngest at the time, because she was only about 1. And little did I know it was actually Zoe that would suffer the most. Um, so basically, what happened with her was her COVID bothered her a lot. She was on a lot of medication. She needed steroid inhalers. We were using a protocol administered from her pediatrician that we were following. We had dehumidifiers, and she was able to get over it. But her whole life with asthma, it was so bad that we frequently went to the hospitals, just for a common cold, to get support with her breathing. She was always taking Dex as a child, so she did suffer a lot. And after she had COVID, it went away. She was still sick. So I'd bring her to the doctor and I'd be like, hey, is she still sick? She wasn't sick. Nobody in our family was getting sick, but she was always coughing. She was coughing at school. She was coughing at night. And it was just a progress of just this coughing after COVID. And I was speaking internally about what was going on because as a provider for her, I wasn't sleeping through the night. And Zoe would wake up 2 to 4 times a night after getting COVID. And this was for a few months. So we put a sample that had NanoX technology in her bedroom. And it was the first night that she actually had a full night's sleep. Um, which was very hard for me as a parent, especially when your daughter's suffering so much from the effects after COVID. And so it was the first night that she was able to sleep through the entire night. And so I really believe in the technology of NanoX, not only for children, but for adults or elderly that may have asthma. And I see how it affects and impacted her life moving forward. We did follow the procedure and the medication that our pediatrician prescribed, but it's something that's a part of our evening routine to make sure she has the dehumidifiers and everything else to really help with that process. You're on
Thank
mute.
you. Thank you, Jacqueline. Appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about what NanoEX technology actually is. It's a very interesting technology to me. When I first heard about it, I thought, oh, what's actually going on with NanoX technology? And what's great about it is it actually mimics what happens in nature, and I think that's the best way to describe it. It's essentially a product or a process that creates particles that occur naturally. A lot of people have said, when you go into the forest, when you're in nature, the air feels fresher, it feels cleaner, at least for people that aren't allergic to the pollen that's in the forest. It seems like it's cleaner and fresher, and you don't get the odors from things the way you do if you're in an enclosed space, such as in a house. And that's because of something called an OH radical or hydroxyl radical. Hydroxyl radicals are essentially particles of oxygen and hydrogen, but they're missing one part of hydrogen, which is common in water droplets, H2O. So it's kind of like an unfinished water molecule. And so what a nano-EX generator does is it creates hydroxyl radicals and then basically launches them out into your environment. So it acts as a detergent or nature's detergent where it would simply clean the air in your space. And what's great about this technology is it doesn't utilize a lot of power. It doesn't need maintenance. Our Nano-EX generator used in our Whisper Air repair only requires 4 watts of power, and it essentially pulls the moisture from the air and creates the hydroxyl radicals and releases them into your environment. So it essentially attacks any of the bad smelling odors that are in the space. So those odors could be generated from cooking or smoking or pets. I've actually got a Whisper Air repair using Nano-EX technology in my own home. I use it in my laundry room because we have both a cat litter box and it happens to be where my 2 boys hang up all their hockey equipment. So we get the smells of the hockey gear and the cat urine and feces. But when we installed the Whisper Air repair, it dramatically reduced the smell of these odors in our house. And I thought, isn't that really interesting? That was when it really struck me. And then as I started looking into some of the evidence and some of the history behind this technology, we actually have a web link that's posted on the page right now. And if you follow that link, it'll take you to our global page where we talk about some of the experience that we've seen and some of the effects and measurements we've done with Nano-EX technology in Asia and in Europe, showing how well it inhibits allergens, how it inhibits pollens, and even breaks down hazardous substances in the home. We've even found it improves the moisture level in your skin and hair. So it's no surprise that when we look at this technology and we look back at the history of this technology with Panasonic, you kind of start to get an understanding of how 20 years of experience with Nano-EX technology being used around the world, why it's so effective and why so many people are using them. We're actually using them now in some of the public transportation units that are used in Asia and Europe, such as trains and buses. We use Nano-EX generation in our heat pump systems, air conditioners, as well as refrigerators. They're even used in hair dryers. You also find them in office locations and elevators, and several of the major car manufacturers are using them now to reduce odors in the interior cabin of cars. So it is a very proven and trusted technology. It's used by lots of companies around the world, and we've been using Nano EX technology for more than 20 years, with more than 100 million units sold globally before 2024. So it's a product and a technology that's very valuable. It works very well, and it can be found in many different forms. In Canada, the products that we have available to you are our ClimatePure heat pump series. It features a Nano EX transmitter built into the inside unit, so it not only sends hydroxyl radicals into the room that you're in, but it also cleans the indoor unit to ensure that we're not seeing a lot of mold and bacterial buildup, which again is inhibiting that potential that it could cause problems with your asthma. But the other standalone piece that features the Nano EX technology is our Whisper Air Repair air purifier. That's a standalone Nano EX generator that can be installed in a ceiling. And again, I use them in my own home. I've installed them in my mother-in-law's home because she has a neighbor that loves to smoke. And before she could smell the smoke in her living room on a daily basis, she doesn't smoke at all, but her neighbor does. And it was permeating the envelope of the house and getting into her living room, causing her great discomfort. At 75 years old, for her, just the ability to have clean air in her home is so critically important. So that was something we did, and it's dramatically improved her quality of life as well. But in addition to our products that feature Nano EX, we have a complete solution from ventilation fans as well as energy recovery ventilators. We talk about indoor air quality not being as good as outdoor air on most days. Assuming you don't have a forest fire burning outside, you want to get some of that fresh air into the house and get rid of some of the stale air. That's what an energy recovery ventilator does. It balances the air in your home, and it does it in a way that's energy sustainable. It's more than 90% efficient at retaining the heating or cooling energy that's already been used inside the house. So you're pulling in fresh air from outside and conditioning it as it comes in. You're also maintaining humidity levels. So if you're already managing your humidity in the home where you're trying to maintain a 40% relative humidity or 35% relative humidity, the ERV will actually help to balance that humidity level in the home, so you're not pulling in excess moisture and adding it into an environment where you're trying to mitigate moisture. So all of these products are going to help to improve the indoor air quality in your home and make it comfortable and clean so you can enjoy a healthier life inside your home. And we've actually recently partnered with Arista Homes, and maybe I could ask Jacqueline if you could talk a little bit about our partnership with Arista Homes in Ontario.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. So Arista Homes is our first Breathe Well partner in North America. This project is located at Dundas Street in Trafalgar area on the north side. And they are very aware of indoor air quality and offering solutions to their customers that are looking for new construction homes. And at this project, they offered a Breathe Well package. And in that Breathe Well package, they offered our Panasonic ERV as well as one Whisper Air Repair that offers the Nano X technology. So this was an exciting partnership with Arista Homes offering the Breathe Well Builder solution. And it also shows how Panasonic is working with other builders as well to promote better indoor air quality. So we are Breathe Well, the only complete air quality solution by Panasonic.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff for any questions that may be in the group. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kevin and Jacqueline. I'm just going to start sharing my screen again now. And we'll get back on track. There we go. So again, thank you very much. That was fantastic. And as I mentioned earlier at the outset of this presentation, this webinar today, we're thrilled to be working with Panasonic as a partner, an important partner. And we were really pleased to see your willingness to work with the families that we introduced you to have a case study. And Jacqueline, you sharing your story is so important as well. That's a lot of what we do to provide information to people is through sharing stories as people living with asthma across the country. So please, thank you for that. And we ask you to please continue to share your story because it makes a real difference. It brings things to light for people. We were fortunate to receive a number of questions in advance, and I know some have been posted in the Q&A here in the Zoom session for those that are live with us today. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A. Our colleagues are in the background responding to some of those questions already, but I thought we would share some of the ones that we've received live or through the advanced questions. And we'll look at trying to address as many of them as we can over the next little while. Please note, we are not here to provide specific medical advice. This webinar today, all the webinars we provide are intended to provide general information to help educate and empower people on how to live better with their asthma and allergies. We are not here to provide specific medical advice or anything to do with medication or anything like that. So always talk to your doctor and please reach out again to our asthma and allergy helpline if we can help you on anything more specific. Having said that, we have some questions I think that will be relevant to a lot of the audience. So we'll start with one of the persons who contacted us ahead of time asked, does a humidifier in the bedroom hinder or improve oxygen levels for those living with asthma? So I'll start with a couple of comments, and then Kevin, Jacqueline, if you have anything to add, please jump in. But the air humidity is important for people living with asthma. It's important in general. It's tricky though, because you don't want the humidity level to be too low and you don't want it to be too high. If it's too low, the air is dry. It can trigger coughing and wheezing with asthma, especially at night, which is when a lot of the symptoms present themselves. So having a humidifier running is a good idea, but it's really important to do that in a way where you can monitor the humidity. You don't want the humidity to be running above 50% or below about 30% is the general thinking. So having that available to you is important, but it's also important to make sure that your humidity is not too high. So in some cases, especially in basements, if you live in a basement apartment or if you spend a lot of time in your basement, the opposite is probably required, where you need a dehumidifier to bring that level of humidity down to a better level. I will ask Jacqueline, Kevin, if you have anything to add.
Hi, Jeff. No, I don't have anything to add, but Kevin might as our product manager. But I can just speak from my experience that through my house as well, that we do monitor the humidity levels as well, just making sure during winter months that they do sustain proper RH levels within the home.
Right. Thank you. So one of the questions was about the difference between HEPA filtration and the type of technology that you're talking about today, and also UVC air purification. There are a lot of different products out there. People have questions about them. Can you please shed some light on UVC air purification and if that's something that people should be considering as well?
So I'm not familiar with UVC. I don't know if Kevin is, but I just know from what we sell at the Panasonic, it's NanoX technology within our HVAC as well as our Whisper Air Repair. So that's pretty much what I focus on as well from a product standpoint. But I'm not versed in the UVC air purification. Sorry.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one, Jacqueline. Basically, UVC is another form of air purification. And I think when we're talking about indoor air quality, any activity that you take to improve your air quality is going to improve the air quality in general. Let's start there. UVC is one particular form that's going to specifically attack microorganisms, bacteria, and virus, which covers one particular part of the spectrum. I think the major impact with a nano EX type transmitter is the fact that it's going to go out into the room rather than just cover a specific area of the room or just the air that's passing through the air purifier. With Nano EX technology, it can actually do surface purification. So because you're sending the hydroxyl radicals into the room, it can purify your carpets, it can purify the fabrics that are on your furniture. So it provides a more complete process of air purification. So I think that that's a significant advantage that you can add when you look at the Nano EX technology is that broader coverage, as well as eliminating more odors in the house, which could be seen as triggers that the UVC doesn't necessarily cover completely.
Great. Thank you both for that. Moving on to another question we received. It was about gas fireplaces and how they might affect indoor air quality. So the technology reportedly is better now when it comes to gas appliances and gas fireplaces in general, but they're often marketed as being safe. But the person posing the question was asking how safe are they? So without getting into any specifics on any particular models or technology around gas fireplaces, I will start by saying a gas fireplace is going to be better than a wood burning fireplace. We talked a lot about the wildfire smoke and how the wood burning can affect people. The type of fires that are produced in fireplaces as well as campfires can also be very harmful for people living with asthma, and can put, in the case of wood burning fireplaces, can put pollutants directly in the home. No matter how well our chimneys are functioning or ventilated, there is going to be some of that particulate matter that will flow into the home when a wood fireplace or a wood stove is used. Having said that, ventilation is key when it comes to wood burning appliances or wood burning fireplaces, as well as gas fireplaces as well. So ensuring that ventilation is properly done, that extends also to gas stoves as well and other types of gas appliances. It's amazing to see how many people have gas appliances in a home or in an apartment, but don't have a range hood or proper ventilation. And that's extremely important. The science is still relatively new on the effect of gas stoves when it comes to asthma, but there are some very strong links and indications that there are correlations between the use of gas appliances and childhood asthma, for example. So we still need to do more research on this, and I know there's a lot of it happening right now. But one thing for sure that we can recommend is that if you're using gas appliances or gas fireplaces, make sure that they're properly ventilated, have them inspected by a professional, and make sure that ventilation is up to snuff. Otherwise, you could be putting yourself at risk without even realizing it.
And Jeff, if I can just add something onto that as well,
Sure,
that's
absolutely.
another key point with respect to our ERV line of products that we have. Part of the advantage of using our one of our balanced home or our IntelliBalanced ERVs is that they help to balance the air pressure within the home. One key thing that I've talked to a lot of different builders about is the importance of making sure that the air pressure in the home is balanced, especially when you're using a gas fireplace, wood fireplace, or any kind of burning appliance in the home. You want to make sure that the exhaust is leaving the house and not going back into the house. And if there's a situation where the house is unbalanced, it may actually start sucking some of the exhaust back into the home, which is incredibly dangerous. And our ERV is one tool that builders today and developers are using to ensure that we maintain a balanced environment, meaning we're not sucking air into the house or pushing air out of the house. We're ensuring that the air is moving the way it should through the exhaust and ensuring that we're not getting dangerous fumes into the house.
Thanks, Kevin, for adding that. That's really important to note as well. In general, another thing I would say when it comes to the use of any type of fireplace or appliance like that, paying attention to what happens when you're using them. So, if you have a child who is experiencing symptoms of their asthma every time you have a fire in the fireplace, you might want to take a look at that and try to, mitigate that situation. It sounds obvious, but it's something we just need to always pay attention to. Asthma management is an ongoing process. It's something, you can't just set and forget. Over time, things change. People's triggers sometimes can change, and certain people are allergic to things that other people, even in their own families, are not. So just pay attention to those correlations. If you're starting to see that a lot more frequently, when you're using a fireplace, for example, you might want to look at changing the type of fireplace you have, or not using it if it comes down to that. Just moving on to a few more questions before we close off. There was also a question about schools and air quality. And I know this is something that's of big concern because kids are back in school now this week. And we know that during September, we see what is a phenomenon known as the September peak. And there's lots of information about that we're putting out right now in the moment from Asthma Canada. We also have information on our website about it. But essentially, it's kind of the perfect storm of children returning to school, people maybe being a bit lax on their asthma medication use over the summer, and the rise of different types of air quality issues, pollen, and so forth during this month. And it's during the month of September that we see more hospitalizations and asthma-related emergency room visits than at any other time during the year. It's significantly more in September. So having said that, one of the things that is of concern to parents of kids with asthma is the air quality, not just in their homes, but in schools as well. And of course, lots of schools are old buildings. They may not have the best systems available. And it's very difficult to comment, I think, and I'll ask our other presenters if they have any advice. But one thing I would suggest is, make sure that in any case, whether or not you're concerned about the air quality in the school or not, make sure you talk to the school officials, to the teachers, the principal about your child's asthma. You want to make sure that they are allowed to carry their medication, which they have a right to, that the classroom teachers know what to look for in terms of symptoms and so forth. And having a conversation with school officials about the air quality in the school can be beneficial as well. So normally in classrooms, there are janitorial staff and so forth that are cleaning regularly, but sometimes there could be improvements made in that area using less harmful chemicals and products that the school might be able to make some changes with, ensuring that if the air quality outdoors is considered safe, to have windows open where possible to allow fresh air into the building. There are lots of things that can be small changes, to Kevin's point earlier. Anything you do is going to have a positive effect. So if you want to have a conversation with your teacher, with the principal of the school, it might result in some changes that could be made to the way that they look at air quality within the school. That's the only thing that I could potentially recommend. And Kevin, Jacqueline, I don't know if you have anything else to address that question.
Jeff, that's definitely been a passion of mine for quite some time, especially with Zoe, especially with daycares and schools in Ontario. So we have brought the technology forward, and we would be interested working with any school boards with the nanotechnology. But again, I do bring knowledge to Zoe's teachers and principals and make sure that they're aware that she does have asthma. But again, it's very important in public schools or Catholic schools that children are getting proper indoor air quality. So we would be open to anybody, if there is on the call, that we can present in front of our nanotechnology. And I don't know if Kevin, if you have anything else to add.
Sorry, I was just typing some answers in the chat. I noticed there were quite a few questions coming in specifically about our products. So thank you, Jacqueline, for answering that one.
I know there are some.
There's a question there I see about where they can purchase some of our HVAC equipment. If interested, we'll post where you can put a web inquiry at Panasonic that does have the Nano-X technology. And we do have dealer partnerships across Ontario. So depending or across Canada, sorry. But if you are where you are located, if you want to email us or send a web inquiry, we can let you know a dealer locally in your area.
I understand that there are some questions that have come in through the Q&A, which I am having a hard time seeing because I'm sharing my screen, but now I see it. Okay, so um, I know that Kevin, you've addressed some of the questions, and Jacqueline. Um,
If you like, Jeff, I can just jump on a couple of them right here.
please do.
Agnes Stewart was asking, what portable machines? Currently, we don't have any portable machines. Currently, Nano EX is available in our Whisper Air Repair, which can be installed in a ceiling. It does require a licensed electrician, or if you're the homeowner, you can do your own installation. I did my own installations. I've done quite a bit of electrical work in my own house using, going through the ESA and getting a proper electrical permit. Um, and definitely it can be installed by an electrician as well. I know people that have hired electricians to come in and have them done. They're fairly easy to install, and they work best when they're installed from the ceiling and transmitting into the room. I know some people have tried other positions off walls and things like that. They don't seem to work as well when they're mounted on a wall or just left sitting in the room. So it's definitely best to install it in the ceiling. Or you can, tying this into a second question from Christine. She was asking, I live in an older condo building with an older heat pump, looking for an air conditioner in the living room. We actually have our ClimatePure line of Panasonic heat pumps that feature Nano EX technology built right in. So it not only keeps the indoor air conditioning unit nice and clean because you've got Nano EX built right in, but it also transmits the hydroxyl radicals into the room to help keep the air fresh and clean and fabrics and whatnot. So it's actually a great solution to look at our Panasonic ClimatePure products. Um, Anonymous asked, "What is the best level of humidity in the room?" I think Jeff spoke about that a little bit. To my knowledge, I'm not an expert on room humidity, but I know from talking to my family physician, he recommended 40 to 50% relative humidity inside the home, and I think that aligns with what Jeff you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, the in general 30 to 50, but
30 to
40
50.
is right in the middle of that, so would
Yeah.
be considered, the most ideal. And again, that can be very difficult to monitor in different parts of the home. Like I live in a home that's an older side split type. So, we can have challenges with very high humidity in the basement, the crawl space, and then the upstairs can be extremely dry. So it can be difficult, but it's these kind of products I think that can help to ensure that people are doing what they can to monitor and ensure that humidity levels are where they should be, especially in areas where you're sleeping.
And again, taking it back to the product, the or energy recovery ventilators are something that do a very good job of not only balancing the air pressure in the home, but also balancing moisture. So if the home is overly humid, it will allow some of the humidity to escape. And if the home is rate optimal, it should be around 40%. The ERV will ensure that it's maintaining that 40 to 50% range of relative humidity and keeping the humidity in the house and transferring it to the fresh air that's coming in if you live in a relatively dry climate. So the ERV helps you to balance your humidity level in the home.
Absolutely. I see there are a couple of questions here just before we close off. We've got a few more minutes left. There are some questions about standalone air purifiers that can sit on a floor, on a table. There are many different products that are available, of course, out there, and particularly in cases where people are living in apartments or where they, maybe don't have any say on the HVAC system that's in their home if they're renting, that sort of thing. Do you or does Panasonic have any advice on what to look for in those type of products? And is there anything you would advise that people consider or perhaps stay away from?
From my personal experience, I find that any filtration that you can add to the air to clean the air, it's going to serve as a benefit. I find in my particular case, we have a central heating system, so we have quite a robust filter system that we use. It's a larger filter, but it is a typical media filter. It's about a MERV 13. And it works reasonably well. But I find the addition of the Nano EX transmitter in the house makes a significant difference, even though we're circulating the entire air through the house, through the air handler. The MERV 13 filter will pull a lot of dust, let's say a lot of dust and particulate from the air. But I find the Nano EX does a significantly better job at reducing odors. So to me, there's a difference that you really feel in the home by adding that. So again, I wouldn't discourage anyone from using a portable air cleaner. I think the Nano EX is something you would add in addition to a portable air cleaner. I think it's part of your solution. If you're having difficulty breathing, you want to try to do as much as you can to pull the contaminants from the air so you can have the cleanest possible environment in your home. I think that's the best direction to take.
Yeah, that's wonderful and a great way to close things off for the Q&A, Kevin. I totally agree. And I think, as we've said a few times throughout, anything that people can do to implement some of these strategies will make a difference. So it's an incremental effect. And we hope that the information that's been presented, both by Panasonic representatives and the technology that they're developing and making available, as well as the general information that we provided around indoor air quality and how people can better manage their asthma around air quality issues. So just closing off then today, I want to thank our presenters, Kevin and Jacqueline, for joining us. I want to thank again Panasonic for sponsoring this initiative and for being a supporter of Asthma Canada. And we want to thank all of you, of course, for joining us today. Your viewpoints are important to us, so please take a moment to fill out the post-webinar survey. We will be sending out a link with the recording as well as the survey to those that registered, not just the people who were attending live, but all who registered. But you can also scan the QR code that's on the screen. And please note that, again, we will be sharing the recording of this webinar very shortly. And when we do, we ask you to please share it with others, because we know this is a topic that's important to a lot of people. So please share it as widely as you can with your families, friends, and other contacts. On behalf of Panasonic and everyone from Asthma Canada, again, thank you for joining us for this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you in future sessions.